The vacation's winding down. We're on our fifth day, and this is a Saturday. I'm going to bring you guys some videos later on. I want to get out of the sun. It's supposed to be really hot this afternoon. I know that wasn't meant as a dig for any of you people in Canada or any of the colder states or provinces, but it is nice here. The weather's really nice. It's supposed to be really hot this afternoon, so I'm going to skip out a little bit and get some videos done. I want to get some information out to everybody. Again, kind of a lackluster week. We had squandered some favorites. We had a couple of horses race really well, and a couple of horses leave us. So I do want to talk about what took place Thursday, more particularly Friday. Thursday was a decent day. Kicked off the day with Walk on the Moon. Again, a Walk on the Moon type trip. I'm going to be there next week. I don't know if Stacy wants to race him in Miami Valley again or bring him back up to the Meadows. If he comes back to the Meadows, I'll drive him at the Meadows. And it's not that, it's not like he races fantastic for me, but I do know the horse. And I think Brady knows the horse also by now. Dave Pallone does. He's a bit of a poser sometimes, but he collects money. I know there's a lot of people out there, and I think this is predicated by my stance on the horse. A lot of people have some angry comments when Walk on the Moon races, but to be fair, he did finish fourth, he did finish fifth, he did finish third, second. He'll get the odd win. The disappointing part from my end is that probably all of those aforementioned starts he could have won. And that's what kind of bites me. But make no mistake, it's not like the horse is finishing 7th or 8th or 9th. And, he's consistent. I guess that's the word of the week. We did have some inconsistent horses that left us. But we started with Walk on the Moon. I thought he raced okay. 4th or 5th, I think. We're in search of a class where he can do a little bit of damage, right? It looked like when he first started there, I was second with him. Dave Pallone was first or second with him again. Looks like he did some good, and then kind of got in a place where he faltered a bit on the end of it and finished again, like I think 4th, 5th, something like that. But it's not like the horse is terrible. So I do feel in that regard, I do have to stick up for him a little bit in the sense that he isn't horrible. He's just not putting in a full effort, and that's where you get that little anger in my voice, is that full effort wasn't put in, but it wasn't a horrible effort, just not a full effort. What else went on? Stonebridge Ducati I thought was a little flat, finished 4th. He's in to go at Northfield next week. He'll probably bounce around from there at Northfield, the Meadows. Now he does potentially have a non-winners of 4 stake race coming up. A non-winners of 4 stake race coming up in Miami Valley. I do think that this is a 56 trotter. We just got to get him on track. Drew his blood. Tim did a good job with him. Drew his blood. Scoped him first. Nothing found under scope, which is good. Drew his blood. Liver count was a little high. We saw this again with another horse last week. We'll talk about in a minute. Liver count was a little high. Not extraordinarily high like we've seen in the past with some horses, but a little bit high. And his AST, there was some old tie-up there, like 500-600 count or something, with a low CK, which is really just older tie-up stuff. Nothing really concerning. We'll see if we can get him back on track at Northfield Park. I think he's in Wednesday. It must be Wednesday because Jason said he drew in. They drew yesterday. So Stonebridge Ducati will be heading back to Northfield for a little bit, and then probably down to Miami Valley. But he can bounce around. I think this is a horse that's going to do us some good. You're going to see him go through those. He feels like he wants to come forward, so you're going to see him go through those hurdles, right? 57, 56, more time hurdles than anything else. And I think what we'll be left with in the summer is a nice solid 55 trotter. And I like Stonebridge Ducati. We've had him vetted out twice now in the States, and nobody's made mention of his knees, which obviously plagued him at 2 and 3. So you see that maturity. For those of you out there, maybe with a horse that their knees are bothering them right now, they'll cool down, they'll settle down, they'll get better, they'll be fine. And Stonebridge Ducati is a poster child for that. If you do it right, take your time, things will work out, and hopefully we can get him going back in the right direction. HP Maestro, I think the fractions might have been a little hot for him. I didn't find him as good on the front end, but Hunter had him really fired up the other day. Third quarter and 28 apiece, and I think he just got a little soft. We did scope him. There was no blood found, which was a little surprising the way he kind of gave it up late. but there may have been some remnants of sickness there. He may not have just been on the top of his game, but the fractions were pretty hot. I think he trotted 55 in a piece, which is interesting in the sense that as of right now, he still fits the non-winners of 6 series at Miami Valley. But if he wins a race between now and March 12th, I think it's the 12th, then he'll be ineligible for it, and we can't protect him. I mean, we're going to go out and try and win with him. But if he doesn't win, if he happens to throw together some seconds and thirds and some good miles, then he could potentially fit that class. But that is not top of the agenda. Top of the agenda is getting to the winner's circle with HB Maestro. It always is, and he's just such a handy horse to drive. I was a little surprised to see him falter a little bit on the end of it, but he did on Dave the day he put him on the front. And the day I won with him, he got everything his own way. The horse in the front crawled a bit, and he kind of snuck through to win. I think he's just a really handy type of horse, but we have to remember what he is, what he isn't. And I think as long as we're fair to the horse, in our minds, he's going to be fair to us. I think he's a very, very nice horse, and definitely a good pickup. I had said to somebody the other day, we lost Sailor, and they said, I think he's worth more than that. On that particular night, that mile in 54 and 2 or 3, yeah, he's worth way more than that. But I just don't have the confidence he'll follow that up with another good mile, and another good mile, and another good mile. He just hasn't been consistent. So in that regard, I would much rather have an HB Maestro than Sailor any day, all day long. And that's what I was saying to the person was, I would rather consistency. And that spilled over, again, into Friday. We'll talk about that in a second. So I was really pleased really pleased with the horse we're going to talk about next, which was Atlas Hanover. I thought he was going to be a winner. He get picked off late by again, an aged horse, an older horse. It's got some grit to him. This guy's finding the open ranks, right? That open class. And whether we talk about it with trotters or with pacers, it's tough. It's tough sledding. Now, we did pay him into the stake race at Mohawk. That's this class. Like Sintra made too much money in those horses, but there's going to be horses in there that didn't. And I'm almost left thinking, geez, that's a lot to ask. But I think we'll bring him back for that series. And if it turns out it's too tough, we'll just give him some time off, because at that point, all our horses should be back knocking on the door and racing and doing well. So it gives a horse that we know at some point will need a rest, right? We talk about looks like money. Well, Atlas Hanover's right along the same line, right? Been racing well, but been racing. And at some point we'll need a rest. So Atlas Hanover raced tremendous. I thought Walk on the Moon raced like Walk on the Moon. And I think Stonebridge Ducati, a little depressing, but threw down a fourth. Wasn't horrible, just a little depressing. And HB Maestro, I thought maybe run a little hot on the front end, but at the same token, trotted in 55. Maybe one of his... No, he trotted in 54 at Mohawk. I was about to say one of his fastest miles of his life. Probably top 5. But he raced okay. I think with a different trip, different circumstances, maybe even a different group of horses, I think that HB Maestro would have a little more pop on the end of it. I know that Jason was talking about bringing him back to Northfield also, but I'm going to be in the U.S. all next week. When I get home from Jamaica, I'm going to go over to Ohio for a week. I know it's going to be a long week for Amy, but at the same token, Jason's gone away, and I want to make sure those horses that are getting closer to the races, I get a real good eye on them so we know what's going on with all of them. So it's important that I be there, and while I'm there, I can skip over to the Meadows, no problem, and go with HB Maestro or whatever needs done. So that was Thursday. As I said, Walk on the Moon was okay. Stonebridge Ducati and HB Maestro, okay. And I thought Atlas Hanover put in a pretty good mile, second and 51. Pretty good mile for him. Then we scooted over to Friday, and I think all we had was Procrastinator and She's a Sassy Girl. Thought the Sassy mare being off a month, coming off, tying up, I thought she raced pretty good, to be honest. And with her, I said, Megan is here with us. So it's a little, I think maybe she's watching the race, and we're watching it, and we're watching the replay, and she knew she finished 6th, and it's got to be tough. I mean, you want to say, hey, the horse won, and she finished 6th, but that's not her fault. The filly was off a month, coming off tie-up. I thought she raced pretty good. And the good thing about her, as I said to Megan, you can put her wherever you want. You don't have to race in a condition race. We paid $15,400 for her. Put her in a 12-claimer. I don't care. Put her wherever you want. And that's the beauty of buying horses for the right price, is we get to put them where they belong. So now it's just a matter of, here, you pick. Where do you think she's going to go on the track? 8 to 5, 6 to 5, 9 to 5. That's where you put her in to go. And that's an easy thing for a trainer to do. So I think there'll be a good rebound for She's a Sassy Beach. That's her name. she's a sassy beach. And then Procrastinator, I was a little disappointed. It bothered me to put him in the claimer. I know that Mo and Barb, and there's been some people that have been with him forever. And the last thing we want to do is rest this horse, bring him back, and then have to put him in a claimer. But, I mean, guys, it's our job to put the horses in where they can do. It's pretty clear he couldn't do in the numbers or two. I wasn't dragging him all the way to London to race him on a half when he doesn't get around a half good at all. I just thought, you know what, we'll stick him in the claimer. In my head, stick him in a claimer, win that class, and then decide after, are we going to race him back in the conditions or leave him in there? We didn't get a chance to make that decision because he was claimed. I guess it's not surprising. People are claiming horses all over, but, Procrastinator was stuck in that bubble where what is he, what isn't he? Can he do the straight numbers or 3 after the numbers 2? After I won with him, I thought he could, but then James and out raced him, and somebody said, oh, James raced him too hard. No, he didn't. When we're blaming the driver for driving the horse properly and the horse falters, that's not the driver's fault. That was a winning move that James made with Procrastinator's next start. And after the scope, and after we drew his blood, it most definitely was the right move. Just the horse faltered, right? And people, I'm not making excuses for horses that are inconsistent. I like Procrastinator. I think he's a nice horse, but when you have one way that you can drive a horse, and if the front end backs up and you sneak through, you can do good. It's not a very good horse to have around. A one runner, right? That's the only way you can do it. And it doesn't make for a well, it certainly isn't consistent. And that's one thing we're going to try and do. We try to put our horses in where they can do good, but we want consistency. Need to have it out of our horses. And, our team that we're assembling is going to be a consistently strong group. And it's the same old saying, you're only as good as your weakest link. Well, we're going to start moving those links out. If they can't do, I'm not mad. It just is what it is. But if they're not going to be consistent, then there's not going to be room for them at the stable. And that has to be our mantra almost moving forward, just consistency. Consistency. If we drew Procrastinator's blood and there was something outrageously wrong, okay, fine, no problem. Same with Sailor, all right, no problem. But we've seen enough of the Sailor lines to know what he does. And Procrastinator, if you look close at his lines, it's very similar, right? When things aren't going his way, when the sun's not shining and the trip isn't great, then he's just not there. There's no reason. You could say 27:56. Okay, he had to come a half in a minute last night. Couldn't do that. Now, it is frustrating. And there's going to be times, when horses leave our barn and do well. I watched Yes win at Yonkers the other night. Good for them. Yeah, we could have sent the horse to Yonkers, 100%. But now that he's up in class, it might be a little tougher moving forward. It may not. I don't know. No idea. But we're going to have to make decisions for the group, and sometimes they're going to work out and sometimes they're not. But when it comes to Procrastinator, yeah, that was a tougher one for me because I had higher hopes, especially after I won with him. I had really high hopes for that horse for the rest of the season. But if you're not going to be able to show me some semblance of consistency, then what am I left doing? Ask Sylvain, how was he? He's okay. He said, the horse that won the race was second. I was following, and I was last. It's very true. So although I think he's worth more than 18,000 Canadian, we can replace him for that. And I told our clients that are involved, my partners on Procrastinator, if you want to stay involved, we'll get a horse. There is some claimers out there, and there's going to be people that are going to be forced to do exactly what we just did. We want the right one. We don't want a Procrastinator back. If we could trade up, that would be perfect. So we'll see if we can do that in the next week or so. Find us a new horse to do some damage, as I said, immediate damage for the stable. As our better horses are on their way back, we do need gap fillers. We need fillers to get the job done. So that's what we're going to be on the lookout over the next little while. Is some fresher set of legs, maybe some horses that do have some sort of consistency that we can help out, or at least maybe find a horse that we can move into a more consistent role. So with that, I'm going to do some videos later on today, but I did want to update you on what I saw on Thursday, what I saw on Friday. Yeah, we had some missed opportunities for sure with HB Maestro, with Stonebridge Ducati. I thought Atlas did all he could. And Procrastinator, as I said, faltered a bit. That happens. It's horse racing. We did say goodbye to Sailor and Procrastinator this week, and hopefully we'll replace at least one, if not both of them, in the coming weeks. But for now, just for now, we're going to keep an eye on what's going on. Babies are training today. The 3-year-olds trained yesterday. I got some favorable reports out of Northfield Park for the horses that returned from Aaron. They train well, so obviously Aaron did his job. Thank you very much for that. And we will get those horses closer to the qualifiers too. I'm not going to be making March 15th payments without knowing whether our horses are going to be staying with us. I don't think you're going to see us make any March 15th payments on any question mark horses. So that's my job over the next month, is to make sure they're closer. That's really important, and that's why I will be in the U.S. next week when I do get home. Part and parcel to Jason going away. I heard my wife just sigh really loudly. I think it may have something to do with that. But as I said, it's back to work next week. But for today, it's not next week, today. Today, I'm going to get out by the pool, hang out with my family, my friends, have a couple of drinks, play a little water polo, and see if we can't soak up 3 more days of sun. Take care, everybody.